After comments from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about Iran crossing red lines with its nuclear program, the Islamic Republic's President Hassan Rouhani has offered a reply, saying that national interests, including the right to enrich uranium, are Iran's own red lines, which the international community cannot cross. Rouhani's remarks came following the end of the latest round of negotiations with world powers over Iran's atomic ambitions. The two sides are said to be close to a deal, but no final agreement was made. Iranian state TV has blamed France for the deadlock, accusing the French government of preferring the views of the Zionist regime to the demands of its own people.
Saudi Arabia is frustrated, exasperated and angry, and actually that's with the United States. It fears that these negotiations will confer on Iran the status of the acceptable power in the Gulf and the dominant power. And the idea that Iran can negotiate with the United States and somehow be recognized as being a responsible member of the international community just fills the House of Saud with complete dread. Saudi Arabia is already working on Plan B. It believes that Iran is going to have the status of a quasi-nuclear weapon state, even if it doesn't test a bomb. The idea that Saudi Arabia would actually take nuclear weapons from Pakistan to develop its own nuclear deterrent sounds fanciful. I can assure you it's a story that I've looked at and discussed for many years, and I believe there is an essence of truth in it. If it were to happen, it would change the Middle East entirely.
Saudi Arabia is allegedly preparing for a possible future threat from Iran by investing in Pakistani nuclear weapons projects. According to a report in British newspaper The Daily Telegraph, the kingdom is set on countering Iran's atomic program, with unconfirmed reports of Pakistan already having delivered mobile ballistic missiles without the warheads. The report suggests that the oil-rich kingdom has the ability to deploy nuclear weapons and mount them on a modern system if an Iranian nuclear weapon threat arises. This adds to growing concerns over a possible Middle East arms race, with allegations of a Saudi Arabia-Pakistani nuclear deal dating back to the 1990s and tensions escalating in recent years when Saudi officials told U.S. journalists that it would be unacceptable to have Iran with nuclear capability and not the kingdom. U.S.-Iran relations have been tense since the Islamic Revolution of 1979, with Western forces currently trying to get Iran behind the negotiations table to review its nuclear weapons program. While Pakistan has declared itself a nuclear state back in 1998, with its warheads having been a long-standing point of concern and debate in the U.S. The Pakistani government dismissed the reports as mischievous and baseless. Saudi embassy representatives in London also denied the reports and pointed out that Saudi Kingdom is part of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and has been working for a nuclear-free Middle East. Israel is widely believed to be the only nuclear-armed state in the Middle East, but is never officially admitted to the program.
Israel fears that the US and the other members of the P5+1 are conceding too much, too early and too quickly. The concerns are about Iran's capacity to enrich uranium, its progress on a reactor which can produce plutonium, another nuclear explosive, and work Iran may be doing or has done in the past about designing an actual nuclear bomb. Prime Minister Netanyahu takes a maximalist approach on these issues, arguing 4 key points. 1. Iran must cease all uranium enrichment. 2. It must close the underground facility at Fordow and dismantle the advanced IR-2M centrifuges at Natanz. 3. It must allow the transfer out of the country of current stockpiles of enriched uranium. And 4. Iran must stop all work at the heavy water reactor at Arak, which will be able to produce plutonium. The non-proliferation regime in the world, which is essentially a compromise between the powers which have nuclear weapons and the ones that don't, would collapse. At the very least, it would mean that every other country in the Middle East of any size would think also that it should acquire nuclear weapons. Iraq, Turkey, even some of the smaller Gulf states. Of course there are arguments why you shouldn't do that, but the arguments will be thwarted by the sense that the United States is no longer the diplomatic power and isn't prepared to use its leverage to assure a non-nuclear world.
So far we can say with certainty that diplomacy and sanctions haven't worked. And the fact is that every day that passes, Iran gets closer and closer to nuclear bombs. Now, if Iran knows that there's no red line, if Iran knows that there's no deadline, what will it do? The world tells Israel, wait, there's still time. And I say, wait for what? Wait until when?